In today's episode, I'll be going through my picks for UFC 307 from the early prelims all the way until the main card, featuring a title fight between Alex Pereira and Khalil Roundtree. So let's get right into UFC 307.
Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the Dub Cast.
Before we start with UFC 307, let's quickly recap UFC 306. So, Sphere was a cool card. Interesting movies and stuff playing. Thought it was a decent production. Thought it was a little bit overhyped, just due to the sour taste left in the mouth after the last two fights were kind of boring. But nonetheless, one of the best fights of the year so far, and we'll talk in a second. And some pretty decent fights leading up to that. So overall, I thought the Sphere 306 was pretty good. Obviously, not the most loaded card, so I thought they could have done a little bit better with that. But for what it was a good card. So we went 2-2 on our picks. This brings our record up from 10-10 to 12-12. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Sorry, I'm trying to pick some winners here. I'm trying to get into the positive. It's been rough, man. Ever since 305, it's been downhill. Because I lost, and then I lost my positive record, and now we're just even, we're riding even. So hoping to go back into the positives after this week. So to recap a little bit about the card, Aldana, one of my picks on the prelims, I believe, or she was the fight before the prelims or the first fight in the main card. She got destroyed, pieced up. I was totally wrong about that one. Huge cut in her face. Not the best showing from her. She just took a beating. So my bad on that one. Rodriguez, he won a sketchy decision. It's kind of, I don't know. I didn't really think that he won that convincingly. He got the second and third round after a first round scare. So there's a W in the book for that one. Valentina just laid on Alexa Grasso for 25 minutes, but she secured the dub. Little underdog action plus 110, so we like those. We like a little cash out there, so that was a good pick by me. And yeah, so at this point we're 2-1 heading to the main event, and then we get O'Malley versus Merab. O'Malley just looked really flat in the title fight. I don't know what was happening with him. I know he got surgery to fix either a shoulder or hip or something. Hope for the best for him. See you back in like 6 months. That was not a good showing. Merab just also sat in him for like 25 minutes. There's people out there who's saying O'Malley won. Like, he did not win, bro. Merab won this fight. That being said, O'Malley, you got to work on your takedown defense. Even the best have lost sometimes, besides John Jones. So I'm sure we'll see O'Malley back. He's gonna have to worry about all the other grapplers in the division. You have Sterling, could be a potential rematch. Umar is not good for him on the ground. Figueiredo is really good on the ground. Peter Yan should have beat him. So I don't know who's next for O'Malley. I heard the name Sandhagen floated. We'll see when that fight happens. We'll see what the Dubcast has to say about it. So just wanted to quickly mention the other two fights. First, Lopes versus Ortega on the main card. That was a sick fight. Ortega's the master of just getting the shit beat out of him and then still being alive somehow. So good for him. He survived 3 rounds. Lopes looks like a rising star. He's going to be the backup fighter for Ilya and Max, I believe. So good for him. He's up next, man. I love Diego Lopes. It's hard not to like the guy. And the fight of the night was Zellhuber versus Ribovics. Just an absolutely crazy fight. Zellhuber was like Ortega on drugs. Like, he was literally dead and somehow just made it out. So good for him. Ribovics did get the W. I did tell you guys to bet on Ribovics. I took Ribovics. We've won some money there. So overall, pretty solid card. I think I made like $2 overall, as usual. It's how things go. But hoping to have some winners here at this card. UFC 307. We're in Salt Lake City, Utah. Something I didn't even think about is the altitude. So this is going to be really fucked up. That's what I'm going to. If I lose all my picks, I'm blaming it on the altitude. Sorry. Yeah. So apparently altitude plays a really big factor. I think this is where Kamaru lost to Leon. There's another big fight that happened. I believe that happened here. So watch out for that altitude, man. And if you lose your bets, just blame it on the altitude. So I think this card is a pretty solid card with fights throughout that I'm actually looking forward to. I think the main event's pretty stacked. Prelims are pretty decent as well. So excited for this one. Not sure how much I'm going to watch. I will be away, so we'll see what happens. But hoping to catch at least the main event and most of the main card, but we'll see what happens. So starting it off with our early prelims, the first fight we have is a welterweight fight between Court McGee. He's plus 175 in the money line, and he faces off against Tim Means, minus 210 in the money line. So a little bit about this fight. Both the fighters are up there in age. I believe they're 39 and 40. Got some common opponents for you guys this time. Both have lost to Alex Morono and Matt Brown, so that doesn't really tell us much. No real advantage there, but yeah, this should be an interesting fight between two vets who have been around in a while. So Court McGee, he's been in the UFC since 2010. He's got notable wins against Robert Whitaker ages ago, Brad Tavares. He's also lost to Sean Strickland, Sean Brady, Carlos Condit, and Morono, as mentioned before. So it seems like he's kind of been a stepping stone recently for guys like Strickland and Sean Brady. Not sure that's really good for him. He's on a 3-fight loss streak. He's knocked out in 2 of those fights. His most recent fight was a decision loss to Morono on April 24th, so that's what he's coming off. He's not coming off a knockout. He was up the whole fight. So his overall career, only 3 of his 22 career wins are via knockout. He does have 8 submissions, which leaves 11 decision wins, and 10 of his last 12 fights have gone to decision. Now his opponent, Tim Means, he's been in the UFC since 2014. He's lost to Neil Magny, Bilal, Daniel Rodriguez, Eros Medic, Kevin Holland, who's on this card, and his only real win is Mike Perry. Lost to Jake Paul in a boxing match. So Tim Means has lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He's decently active, though. He was knocked out in April of this year, so Court's coming off the decision in April, loss. Means is coming off a knockout in April. So 20 of Means' wins have come via knockout, 5 submissions, 8 decisions. He's only gone to decision once in his last 5 fights. So the picks here, I'm not loving either side, to be honest. This reminds me of a fight similar to the Bobby Green, Jim Miller fight at UFC 300. It's just 2 UFC vets duking it out. I'll probably go to decision. I don't really like one better, though. I like Bobby Green better than Jim Miller. I think there's value to be had in Court McGee, potentially, just because I think they're so even, and Court is like plus 175, so I think that's really good odds for him. Means has really not been good at all lately. As for the distance, I don't think it'll end in submission, but I really don't know how it's going to end. They've both been knocked out. They both can, Means can knock people out. If I had to pick, I'd probably pick it to go to decision, but I'm not really confident in that at all. So something I am considering, though, is Court McGee moneyline, so we'll keep an eye on that for later. As always, I should mention I'll have things that I'll probably be betting on, and then things that I'll actually be advising you to take as my main betting card. So follow at will if you want. Usually stuff on the first one hits and this main card just fizzles out, but we'll see what happens. My most conviction is on the main card pick, so we'll see what happens with that. So next fight is a women's strawweight fight between Carla Esparza. She's plus 145 in the money line, and she faces off against Tisha Pennington, minus 175. Carla Esparza, she's not fought since November of 2022, which is almost 2 years at this point. It's 23 months. She's been in the UFC a while, since 2014. She's beaten Rose in The Ultimate Fighter. Very impressive, but considering that was the beginning of her career in 2014, that was almost 10 years ago at this point. Berna Janaroba, she's beat Alexa Grasso. She's beat Michelle Waterson-Gomez. She beat Marina Rodriguez, who's on this card. She's beat Yan Xiaonan, who we saw but hung in there with Zhang Weili. She also beat Rose again. She lost to Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez, and Joanna Jezeric. Sorry, butchered that last name, but you know who I'm talking about. So I really was impressed by Carla Esparza's resume. She's coming off a title run, so in her last 5 fights, she's 4-1. The one loss being to Zhang Weili for the title. 4 of her wins are via knockout, 4 via submission. Other 12 have come to decision. She has been submitted twice and TKO'd twice with 3 decision losses. So I don't know. I was really impressed by Carla Esparza's resume. And then we look at Tisha Pennington. She's been in the UFC as well since 2014. A fight between 2 veterans, both been in the game for 10 years. She's beat Angela Hill 2 times. Not really an impressive win. She also beat Michelle Waterson-Gomez, so a mutual win there for them. She beat Rose in 2013, so they both beaten Rose, and she beat Paige Van Zant of wrestling fame, I believe. She also lost to Rose, where Carla beat her twice. She lost to Jessica Andrade, who's like kind of the definition of a mid women's fighter. She lost multiple times. She didn't lose multiple times. She also lost to Joanna and Zhang Weili. So some really common fighters here. There's no real advantage because they both lost to the same people and beat the same people. Actually, I lied. Marina Rodriguez she lost to. So Carla beat Marina Rodriguez, and Tisha lost to her. So, you know, she's also lost to Mackenzie Dern, Tabitha Ritchie. I was not as impressed with Tisha Pennington's resume. It just seems like she's kind of losing to mid fighters. But she only has one knockout and one submission in her 13 career wins. She's never been knocked out or submitted in her career. So Iron Chin, Tisha. What do we got there? 3-6 in her last 9 fights, losing in May of this year in a decision. So 5 months ago, doesn't really matter that much. It's a decision. She's recovered. So the picks here, honestly, this is my favorite pick of the night. I really don't understand why Carla Esparza is an underdog. I'm going to be hammering her. She's already dropped in the odds. I just looked from because I did my research. Today, I should clarify, today's odds are of Tuesday, October 1st at 7:20 p.m. I just looked, so if it's off by the time you're looking at this, sorry. I do love Carla Esparza in this fight, though. That's like my favorite pick of the night. I think I'm missing something. What is it? I don't know. Esparza has beat up on multiple common opponents. She has more impressive wins and not as many losses. Maybe because she's coming off 2 years of not fighting, but we haven't really seen that be a factor in betting. At least I haven't. It's not really a trend I've noticed. They're the same age, so I'm not really understanding this one. I also love this fight to go the distance. Tisha's never been knocked out. Carla, I don't think is going to go down. I think she's going to win the fight, so therefore I think this is going to go the distance. It'll probably be like minus 400 to go the distance because that's what they do for women's fights. I think, yeah, the odds will probably be dog shit, but maybe a little parlay piece there. Some early prelim action if you're into that. So that's what I'm looking at. Carla Esparza, the fight to go the distance with probably bad odds. Those are the things I'm considering on this one. Next fight is a light heavyweight fight between Ryan Spann, who's minus 290. He faces off against Ovin St. Preux, who's plus 235. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. If I'm not, I'm sorry, brother. Ryan Spann, a little bit about him. He's another UFC vet. I've noticed that there's a lot of UFC vets on this who've been around for like at least 5 to 10 years. It's crazy. So he's been around since 2018. He's got notable wins over Dominic Reyes, Sam Alvey. He did lose to Anthony Smith twice, where I have to call you out for that. It's, Anthony Smith. If Jessica Andrade is the definition of a mid-female fighter, Anthony Smith is the definition of a mid-male fighter. Sorry, brother. He also lost to Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov. Krylov's good. Johnny Walker, it's kind of, I don't know. So Spann comes into this with a 3-fight loss streak. He lost by knockout in April of this year. A lot of people coming off I don't know what the timeline is. I guess April was 6 months ago at this point. Wow. So I guess it's been good enough time to recover. On that 3-fight loss streak, he also lost a split decision, and he also got submitted after fighting most of the lower-ranked light heavyweights, Krylov, Anthony Smith, blah, blah, blah. Whatever I just said. So over half of his wins come via submission. He has 6 knockouts as well as 3 decision wins. Only one of his last 8 fights have gone to decision either way, so him getting knocked out or him knocking people out. So this is going to be your early prelim knockout. I think this is going to end early. So his opponent, Ovin St. Preux, 41 years old, which is essentially the end of his career. This might be his last fight. He's been in the UFC since 2013. He's also beat Krylov, but that was in 2014. He beat Marcio Rua, Mikhail Oleksiewicz, that guy who I know is mid, Alonzo Menafield, Kennedy Nzruku, all mid fighters, really not really impressed by any of those wins. He lost to Jamal Hill, impressive loss, I guess. Ben Rothwell, not impressive loss. He lost to Krylov in a rematch. He lost to Dominic Reyes, so there you go, mutual opponent. He also lost to Odesmir, John Jones, which is a crazy fact that he fought John Jones, and Glover. So this guy's really run the gauntlet and really lost to all the fighters that are actually good and beat the ones who are mid. So he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He won a split decision against Nchukwu in March of this year, so not good that you have to go to a split decision against that guy. That guy's really not a good fighter. 13 of his 27 wins have come via knockout, 7 submissions, 7 decisions. He's been knocked out 5 times and submitted 3 times of his 17 losses, which means 7 decision losses. So the picks here, I'm picking Spann to win. Obviously, probably not going to bet on it at almost minus 290, almost minus 300. I think this is a legacy fight for Spann to stay in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight lose streak. He's got a kiss staying here. They're lobbing him up Ovins. Maybe Ovins gets knocked out, calls it a career right there. I don't know. I'm seeing the narrative on this one as a Spann win. I think he's got the advantage. I could see him submitting him or knocking him out. That's the way that they usually end on Spann's end. He's not going to take the decision unless it's like a Rosenstrike tied to Ivasa situation, which I doubt. I think it's more likely to be a knockout than a submission. St. Preux seems to be prone to getting knocked out, a little bit chinny. I'm not terribly confident in it, though, because Spann has also not been great lately, but that's my pick. So I Things I'm considering looking at from this fight: Span by knockout. I don't know what the odds would be on that. Maybe a plus sign, but probably not. Under 2 rounds, if we get that, it might be 1.5. So if it's under 2, slam. Under 2.5, slam. But if it's 1.5, I'm not really loving that one. So on to the prelims now. The first fight is a lightweight fight between Austin Hubbard, who's plus 165. He faces off against Alexander Hernandez, who's minus 195. So a little bit about Austin Hubbard. This was a weird one. So he was in the UFC from 2019 to 21, and then he came back in 2023. He's 5-5 in the UFC with no real notable opponents, no one that I recognized. As I do more and more of these predictions and more of these betting things, and watch more UFC, is because that's how you pay attention, actually know what you're betting on. Maybe someday I'll start to know the people that he fought, but I just couldn't name any of them. So he has 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 10 decision wins, make up his 17 wins. In his second stint in the UFC, he's been 2-1 since coming back in 2023. So only a year ago, he's fought 3 times, he's won twice. Both wins have come via decision. He lost via submission, so could be prone to being subbed. So in his 7 losses in his career, 3 have been by submission, 4 by decision, and 6 of his 7 last fights have gone to decision, besides the 1 submission, including his other promotions and the UFC. Obviously took that break. So his opponent, Alexander Hernandez, has been in the UFC since 2018. He's beaten Dariush and Jim Miller. He lost to Cowboy Cerrone, Drew Dober, Thiago Moses, and Renato Moicano, who at UFC Paris was awesome. So that was a good fight to see as well. UFC Paris was sick as well, but we're not talking about that. Impressive win over Dariush. Jim Miller's meh. Everyone else here is kind of mid, so he's kind of on the lower end of this lightweight gauntlet. So his last 3 fights have gone to decision. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. A lot of that too. A lot of losing streaks. A lot of older guys. This may be like a retirement ceremony. I don't know. He's been submitted once and knocked out 3 times. And when it goes to decision, he ends up being 6-4. So the picks here, I don't really love either side, honestly. I'm gonna have to go with Hernandez. I like his odds, honestly, at minus 195. I think that's pretty good odds. I have little faith in it, just because I don't really know much about him and know much about Hubbard as well, and I can't really, being a guy who looks at the stats and looks at the fight history, I don't really watch the tape, so I don't really have a thought on this. If I was forced to pick, I'd pick Hernandez. As for the distance, though, I do like this fight to go the distance, so that's what I'll keep my eye on for betting in the future. Next fight is a middleweight fight between Cesar Almeida, who's minus 400. He faces off against Ihor Porteria, who's plus 300. So Cesar Almeida, this is a weird one. I think we have already talked about him on the channel. Only 6 career fights, 5-1 in those fights. 4 knockouts make up 80% of his wins, aka 4, because he only has 5 wins. So his loss came via decision in June to Roman Kopylov. I think I talked about that fight, because I must have talked about that fight. I wonder what I said. I did look at it just to see if I actually did talk about him. So it's nice to be talking about people again on the channel. We'll be talking about Pereira again on the channel. So, full distance moment. We've been here a while. 6 months of the podcast. We're really talking about people, so that's cool. His opponent, Ihor Porteria, he began the UFC in 2021. He's been 3-4 in that time. He's lost to Michel Pereira, Carlos Olberg, and he beat Rua, who I think at this point is kind of a free win. Olberg's somewhat impressive, I guess, but that's a loss, so I don't really know what we're getting here. So 6 of his last fights in the UFC have ended early, one way or the other. He has 6 submissions, 9 knockouts. A majority of his wins and all losses, but 1 have ended early. So you can see the writing on the wall where this one's going. I'll take Almeida, obviously minus 400. I don't really see Portiera as a threat to be winning. I have no confidence in anything in this fight, though. I'm not going to bet minus 400. It seems like it could end early. I don't know, though. It seems like Almeida in the UFC has gone to decision recently. That's what I've been talking about. Or that's what I've talked about before on the channel. I think when you come to the UFC, it's different. Like Michael Page versus Kevin Holland fight's the perfect example of that. That's what I always go back to, but it takes time to feel it out. Maybe he's coming off a couple UFC wins, so maybe you can knock him out. I don't know. I think this is a setup match for Almeida to win, though, move up the rankings a little bit. He's 36, with little time to make a run in the UFC. They just brought him in on 6 career fights, so really not confident enough, though, in it to bet it. So not touching anything in this one. Not really looking at anything in this fight. Next fight, women's strawweight fight between number 6 ranked Marina Rodriguez and She is plus 140 on the money line. She faces off against number 14, Yasmin Lucindo, who's minus 170 on the money line. Marina, she's been in the UFC since 2018. She has wins over Michelle Waterson-Gomez twice, Yan Jiunan, Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas, Tisha Pennington, who's on this card. So pretty impressive resume there. Lost to Jessica Andrade, Verna Jandarobiel, Amanda Lemos, and Carla Esparza also on the card before this. I was confused why this one's higher up on the card than the other one with Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. That one seems like it's going to be a better fight than this. Maybe they just think they're not going to do much. I don't know. So pretty solid resume for Marina, honestly. She does have a couple of knockouts mixed in there, but mostly decisions. She has been knocked out once, and Marina has lost 3 of her last 4 fights. The trend continues. She could be at risk to lose her ranking. Obviously, that's how the UFC works. If you win, you just get that person's ranking, which I think is a little dumb because the people in the middle, what's the incentive for the people who win to, like, they go up one or I don't know. So about Yasmin, she's 22, 15 years younger than Marina. Marina's 37. She only has 4 fights in the UFC, going 3-1. She lost to Yasmin Jarguai, who we saw get knocked out at UFC 306 in the Sphere. Half of her wins have come via knockout. Granted, they were from her previous promotion. She has been knocked out once, submitted twice, and also has 3 submissions that she won on her resume. So the picks here, don't love anything in this fight either, to be honest. This middle, I'm glad I'll be probably out doing stuff during the middle of this card. I just won't be betting it. I'm not really sure what Rodriguez is worth, and considering she's an underdog, she's 37 years old. She's facing a less experienced fighter and is an underdog. This just screams out to me like a rankings switch where they want Yasmin to win. Lucindo, she comes in with a 3-fight win streak. She's hot right now. I'll pick Yasmin. Take another favorite. It's just that's what fight betting is. You have to look and find the good favorites. I mean, the good underdogs, but it's mostly gonna be favorites. I mean, I've covered UFC cards that have been like all favorites. UFC302 comes to mind right away. Anyways. So, not confident in any aspect of this fight. Usually women fights are locked to go the distance, but both these women have KO power, submission power even for Yasmin, so I don't love anything in this one, not touching anything on this one either. So fight 7, the last fight before the main card, is a welterweight fight between Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's plus 175 in the money line. He faces off against Joaquin Buckley, who's minus 210 in the money line. Wonderboy is number 9 in the welterweight rankings. Joaquin's number 11. That seems very high for both of them, since they're both kind of older, especially Wonderboy. So Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 41 years old. He's been in the UFC since 2012. He has, in his illustrious career, he has wins over Robert Whittaker, Jorge Masvidal, Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, Kevin Holland. He's also lost to Tyron Woodley, Anthony Pettis, Gilbert Burns, Bilal, and Shavkat. So recently he's kind of, people always talk about the Bilal Wonderboy fight. I should probably watch that fight at some point because it was like a really impressive Bilal win, I guess. So just about half of his wins have come via knockout, but there are a lot of decisions recently. You know, getting up there in age, it's what we see with these fighters. It's not as easy to knock people out. He's 4-6 in his last 10 fights, kind of been middling recently. He has been knocked out and submitted only once each in his career. So I don't know if he's going to get chinned. This one might be a decision watch. We'll see. Joaquin Buckley, he's been in the UFC since 2020. He's beat Morono, Vicente Luque, who they both fought, both beat. He's lost to Chris Curtis, Imavov, and Kevin Holland, who Wonderboy beat. So there's a mutual opponent for you. 13 of his wins have come via knockout. He's been knocked out 4 times. No submission action, no getting submitted, and also no submissions. So he's coming into this fight on a 4-win fight. He's coming into this fight with a 4-win streak. So that's impressive for him. So I feel like this is a spot, the picks here, I feel like this is a spot where Wonderboy could win. I think this could be a big upset. He's beaten Holland, a mutual opponent. He has more impressive wins and losses. Granted, he's lost most of his fights recently, yes. But a good friend told me that Joaquin Buckley is not good and is kind of chinny and, is kind of not smart in the ring. He's obviously much older, so I'm not sure how much that matters. I think this could be a decision win for Wonderboy. I'm not confident enough to add it to my card. It will be something I'm considering betting on, probably will bet on just to have something on this. As the distance, I think it might end early. It might go the distance. I don't know. I don't know. I think Vegas will be on this one, so I'm not touching that aspect. I do like Wonderboy, though. Money line. Finally, on to the main card, the main event, the last 5 fights of the evening. Starting it off with the Kevin Holland initial first fight of the main card, classic. We have a middleweight fight between Roman Dolidze, number 10 middleweight, facing who's modded plus 130, Faces off against Kevin Holland, minus 155 on the money line. He's the 15th ranked middleweight. Obviously, Roman Dolidze took Anthony Smith's spot in the middleweight rankings. So a little bit about him. He's been in the UFC since 2020. Recently beat Anthony Smith at, what was that, UFC303. He's lost to Imavov, who we saw at UFC Paris, looked solid, and he lost to Vittori. So 7 of his 13 wins have come via knockout. He also has 3 submissions on his resume. His last 3 fights have gone to decision, and he's never been knocked out or submitted in his career anywhere. So Roman Dolidze, Iron Chin. His opponent, Kevin Holland, is this the second or third time? I think this is the third time I'm talking about Kevin Holland on the channel. No, second. I lied. I took Venom Page against him, but that was the card right before I started covering UFC. So I've only talked about it once, so another return to the channel. Welcome back, Kevin Holland. He's been in the UFC since 2018. He's beat Anthony Hernandez, Joaquin Buckley, who's on this card, Chiesa, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, who's mid. He's lost against Michael Venom Page, Jack Della Maladona, Wonderboy, who I mentioned before, Cosmot, Martin Vittori, mutual loss there, Derek Brunson, Brendan Allen, Thiago Santos. So half of his wins have come via knockout, 9 submissions, 4 decision wins, only 1 knockout loss, 3 submission losses, 7 losses when it goes down to decision. So honestly, like, this is a hard one for me. I would usually just pick against Holland, but I don't know. This feels like a spot where you could somehow win. I do like to call Holland a punching bag, but Dolidze doesn't have the most impressive resume, so this will be kind of a test for him. I'd probably lean Roman Dolidze. He looked clean against Anthony Smith coming in on super short notice. This one, he's back again, probably crisp, ready to go. Kevin Holland just fights whoever, whenever, gets that money. I don't think he is so invested in moving up. He's gonna, like, if he loses this fight, he'll probably stay as the gatekeeper of the middleweight division. And I don't think that changes much. So Dolidze has an iron chin. I don't think he'll be knocked out by Holland. Holland also has a decent chin, so I really like this fight to go the distance as well. So that's something I'm strongly considering. And I'm also slightly considering Roman Dolidze moneyline. It's moved down recently, so a lot of the underdogs in this one that I like have moved, besides Carla. I really don't understand what's going on with that one. So bet these now if you like these underdogs that I'm saying, because the sharps are getting in on it. So next fight, we have women's bantamweight bout between number 2 ranked Ketlin Vieira, plus 525 on the money line. And why is she so high on the money line? Because she's facing the new face of women's UFC, number 3 Kayla Harrison, minus 900. This has gone down even. Kayla was minus 800. She's gone to even more of a favorite. So a little bit about Kayla, not Kaylin. A little bit about Ketlin Vieira. She's been in the UFC since 2016. She beat Holly Holm, mutual win there. She's also beat Miesha Tate. She lost to Raquel Pennington, who fights for the belt later on in this card. Irene Aldana, who I mentioned before. She has 2 knockouts and 4 submissions. 10 of her fights have gone to decision. She's only been knocked out once and never submitted. Her last 6 fights have gone to decision, and she hasn't fought in over a year. Something to keep an eye on there. Here we go. Kayla Harrison will be her second UFC fight. Submitted Holly Holm at UFC300 in April. Yeah, that was an impressive win, although Holly Holm is very old and out of her prime. She only had 1 loss in her career at Bellator, and overall only 1 loss, which was a decision loss. She has 6 knockouts, 7 submission in Bellator, and 6 of her fights have gone to decision wins. So obviously the picks here, Harrison's a robot. I think it's going to likely win for the narrative, and as a massive favorite, I don't like Vieira's odds even. I don't know, this might be a spot where you throw $1 or 2 on Vieira just in case, like if there's anything over plus 500, might as well, right? But in terms of the distance, I do think the over on the rounds could be very juicy. If it's 1.5, if it's 1.5, I love it. If it's 2.5, I am sketchy on it, but I still kind of like it. I think Ketlin's got an iron chin. You know, Kayla hasn't had that. Yes, you've submitted Holly Holm in the first round, but that's Holly Holm, 37 years old. This is Ketlin Vieira, the number 2 ranked women's bantamweight fighter. I know that's not really saying a lot, but I like the over in this. If they give us 1.5, slam. If they give us 2.5, teardrop. I like both those plays. To go the distance seems a little bit difficult because the hype coming off Harrison is crazy. So it's like a Bo Nicol situation, I think. Vieira has a very tough chin though, so I'm really liking over 1.5 rounds, over 2 rounds. I still really like over 2.5. I like decently, and the fight to go the distance is something I'm considering as well, depending on what those odds look like. So the last fight before the title fights is a bantamweight bout between Jose Aldo. He's plus 120 on the money line, and he's the number 10 ranked bantamweight fighter. He faces off against number 11 Mario Bautista, minus 140. on the money line. So Jose Aldo, welcome back to the channel. We were talking about him. We covered him at UFC 301, where he beat Jonathan Martinez. So he's obviously a legend, a very accomplished UFC veteran. He's been in the game since 2011. In his career, he's beat Chad Mendes twice, Frankie Edgar twice, Moicano, Chito Vera, Rob Font, and recently Jonathan Martinez. As just mentioned, he lost to Merab, Peter Yan, Volk, Holloway twice, and obviously the infamous loss to McGregor. Over half of his wins are via knockout, one submission win. His last 5 fights, though, have gone to decision. So he's been knocked out 4 times and submitted once, but he has not been knocked out since 2020. So almost 4 years ago at this point, he did take a little break before 301. So, but he's fresh now. He's coming back from one last title run. His opponent, Mario Bautista. Why do I keep saying Barb? Mario Bautista. He's been in the UFC since 2019. He has beat Miles Johns, who I think I heard of, and lost to Corey Sandhagen. Of his 14 wins, 3 have come via knockout, 6 via submission, 5 via decision. He's never lost by decision. Only 2 losses have been by knockout and sub. So only 2 losses on the resume, 1 knockout, 1 sub. So the picks here, I really like Aldo. I'm not making that mistake again. He was slept on heavily. I picked Jonathan Martinez. That was a bad pick. He won that fight pretty easily. It was like 1 minute into the fight, I was like, why did I pick Jonathan Martinez? Aldo's a dog. Bautista is dangerous on the ground, but Aldo's an experienced pro. He knows how to cut that shit off. This will be his last shot at a title run. The UFC is fucking him over, but let's go. I'm here for it. I want Aldo to win. I like Aldo. This seems like a spot where Bautista could be stopped, and it's sort of a wake-up call before he goes in his title run, before he gets hot. As for the distance, I lean to go into the distance, but considering Bautista's variability, even Aldo's variability, I'm not loving anything on that. So I do like Jose Aldo money line plus 120. It dropped from 145 earlier in the week. The sharps are getting on Aldo, guys. So I liked Aldo solidly. We'll see if it makes it onto the card, but that's something I'm really heavily considering. Second to last fight, the best title fight of all time. This will sell UFC pay-per-view records. It's the women's bantamweight division or title fight between Raquel Pennington, who's minus 170, the champ. She faces off against Juliana Pena, the #1 contender, who's plus 140 on the money line. So a little background on this fight. There's a little bad blood from Ultimate Fighter. I tried to look into it, but apparently Pena was just an annoying roommate to Pennington. That's the drama. So Raquel Pennington is as champ. She's been in the UFC since 2013. Both of them have on the same season of Ultimate Fighter. She's beat Jessica Andrade, Miesha Tate, Irene Aldana, Macy Chiasson, Kaylin Vieira, who's on this card. In her most recent win, Mayra Buena Silva. One of the most boring fights I've ever watched, especially a title fight. It might be the most boring title fight I've ever watched. She lost to Holly Holm twice, Amanda Nunes, and Jessica Andrade. She only has 1 knockout of her 16 career wins, 4 submissions, 11 decisions. When she's lost, it's been by decision. Of her 9 losses, 7 have been by decision. She comes into this fight on a 6-fight win streak, spanning 4 years. She's not really that active, but when she does fight, she does win. Her opponent, Juliana Pena, she's been in the UFC, obviously the same amount of time. She's beat Jessica Ai, Sarah McMahon, Amanda Nunes, which is the crown jewel of everything. That 1 win was crazy. She was like plus 2,000. I remember where I was for that. She also has lost to Nunes and lost to Shevchenko. Apparently, she was supposed to get the trilogy fight against Nunes. That's why she's here now, fighting here. She only has 17 fights over 11 years. She has not fought since July of 2022. Of her 12 wins, half have come via submission. Also has 3 knockouts on the record, only 3 decision wins. So 60% of her losses have come via submission, which is 2 or knockout. So 2 knockouts, or 2 submissions, 1 knockout, and 2 decision losses. She's 2-2 in her last 4 fights. So the picks here, I like Pennington. She's more active. She's been more impressive with her wins. She's also fought a higher class of fighter throughout. I do think Pena is a big challenge, though, considering she beat Nunes. She can pull some shit, obviously. I'm not confident enough to add Pennington into the card, but I might throw on some parlays. As for distance, since I think Pennington is going to win, give me the over in rounds in the card, whatever it is. It'll probably be 4.5, and going the distance will probably be like minus 200 at least. So strong consideration for the over. I like the over, fight to go the distance, and Raquel. Those are things that I'm considering betting. Finally, the main event of the evening is a light heavyweight fight for the title between Alex Pereira and Khalil Roundtree. Alex Pereira is minus 550 on the money line. Khalil Roundtree is plus 375. And let me just say, I love Alex Pereira, man. Please win, bro. We'll talk about it in a second. It's the second time covering Alex Pereira on the channel. 3 inches of height advantage in this one, 2.5 inches of reach, which, you know, I'm not usually a reach or height guy anymore. That was when I first was betting on UFC, but in this one, they're going to be striking all day. This is going to be really bad for Khalil Rountree. He comes in with a 4-fight win streak, including 2 title defenses in the past 6 months. We saw him at UFC 300, smoked Jamal Hill in the first round. We saw him beat Yuri in the second round. It's absurd watching this man fight. I love it. 9 of his 11 wins have come via knockout. He's only been to round 3 in 3 of his last 13 fights, so it's going to end early. His only losses have been via submission and knockout. Obviously, the infamous Izzy knockout. So about Khalil Rountree, he's been in the UFC since 2016. He comes into this fight with a 5-fight win streak. He's beat Anthony Smith, Chris Dawkins, Dustin Jacoby, Paul Craig, and he's lost to Marcin Prachnio, Ion Kutabala, and Johnny Walker. How did this guy get a title shot, man? I know my theory is I think Ankalaev is going to give Pereira a different sort of challenge he's never faced before. So the UFC is worried about that, and obviously you want to get your star to win. And Pereira's 36, if he's older, like he's only got a couple years left. So it's like give him some obvious wins. I think that's where kind of where this came in, especially since Khalil failed the drug test. This was a very weird matchup to me. So not really going against the grain here. I like Pereira. Pereira's my guy. He's quickly rising into my top 3. If you don't love this guy, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, he's one of the easiest people to root for. He's awesome. He's as the second biggest favorite on this card. Probably won't touch his odds. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters. He's just so fun to watch. I think he knocks out Rountree very early at round 1. Obviously, his odds are shit, so I'm not betting it, but I will take the under, though, and we'll consider that no matter where it lands, even if it's at 0.5. No, 0.5 is still egregious, but 1.5, 1, I like it. I think this is going to be a first-round knockout for Pereira. I'm knocking on wood, though, because last time I did this was Leon, and that was a shit performance. So the wood has been knocked. Pereira, please, bro. I kind of like Khalil Rountree. I listen to him on Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time, but when there's cool people on there, I listen. And Khalil's chill, man. So, you know, he doesn't really seem like he has the resume to be a champ. Doesn't really seem like he deserves this shot. But if he gets it and beats Pereira, it's all you, bro. Wouldn't be my least favorite champ for sure. So, yeah, that's going to wrap up the card. Let's go into things that I will bet on, but I'm not confident to add to the Dubcast official card. So, as mentioned before, first fight of the night, usually my cardinal rule is don't bet on it. This time I'm going to throw a couple of dollars Court McGee's way, bro. I'm sorry. Plus 190, plus 175. I think now he's down to. He's looking good. This fight's going to be a snoozer. Well, it could be a good fight. It could be two old dudes fighting. But I thought the resumes were too similar. Court McGee's odds are just. I'm not chasing odds. I'm just looking where the odds lie, and pursuing. You know what I mean? It's not chasing odds. I'm not doing that. I just think the odds are better than given. Also looking at Span via knockout and Span and St. Preux under in rounds, depending on what that number is. I think Span's going to be an easy knockout. I think they want to add that for a nice knockout in the early prelims. Hernandez x Hubbard to go the distance. Probably parlay that with another distance thing. Just seems like that was really headed towards the distance. 2 equal fighters. Wonderboy Thompson didn't make it to the main card, but that's something I'm considering. I really like a lot of the underdogs in this one. I think I mentioned it up top, but Wonderboy, like his odds in a fight where I think he's being slept on heavily against Joaquin. His odds have gone up, though, so the sharps aren't loving Wonderboy. Roman Dolidze, his odds have gone down. Moneyline, I think he's minus plus 135 now. I like him straight up against Holland. Not enough to add it to the official card, but I do think he will win because Holland gets to just remain as the gatekeeper until he has to lose his spot, and he's not gonna lose, or he's not gonna win. Pereira, Rountree, under rounds. It's gonna get sketchy. It's a lock, but it's probably the under rounds might be like under 0.5. It's gonna be ridiculous. So depending on the number, under 1.5 I love, under 1 I even like, under 2 I love, but unfortunately filming on a Tuesday I don't have the props yet, but I do like the under. So the official Dubcast card, once again providing 4 picks. I don't know why I always do 4 picks, but I guess that's a thing now, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. Favorite 4 picks of the night. So first up, we got Carla Esparza moneyline, as mentioned before, plus 145. Love this pick. For some reason I always end up betting on one of the women's fight. I think it's kind of an easier thing to bet on, just because there's a lot less variability because they don't knock out people as much. So I like Carla here, plus 145. Second pick is the parlay. We have Esparza and Pennington to go the distance, all 5 rounds. No, that's not the title fight, my bad. To go all 3 rounds, that might be like minus 400, but throw in Holland and Delize to go the distance. That will give you some hopefully decent odds, even if it's like minus 130 range. It's still pretty good. I don't think it'll be that high, but if it is, sorry, we do usually sometimes pick favorites that are good. So I like that. Harrison Vieira. This one is going to have to be a tentative. Both of these picks are going to have to be tentative. So I'm giving you 2 overs and 2 of the other women fights. Harrison Vieira, if it's over 1.5, slam. If it's over any, whatever the over is, if it's over 2.5, I will pick that, I guess. But if it's over 2, over 1.5, to start round 3, even, I don't know. I need to like lock something down so I have something to go off. So I'll say over 2 rounds. I don't know what the Vegas odds are going to be. If they give you like even odds at 1.5, then we'll say that's my pick. But I'll say over 2 rounds for Harrison Vieira. Pennington, Pena, same thing. Don't have the odds. I'm guessing this one's going to be 3.5, and I'll take the over. I'll take this over 4, over 4.5 as well. So really, this is probably going to, what I just said will probably make this pick lose automatically. So we'll go with Harrison over 2, Harrison Vieira over 2 rounds, and Pennington and Pena over 3.5, or I'll say 3.5. So those are my picks. It might be fucked odds. I don't know. Last pick, Jose Aldo. Love his odds. Plus 125, I believe he's down to 135. He's on a title run, baby. He's coming. Aldo's coming. So yeah, there's your picks. Threw a lot on the main card, even some early prelims action, which we never do. What are your guys' picks for UFC 307? Salt Lake City should be a fun card. Should be some knockouts in there for sure. Definitely saw some fights that I know are going to end early. So looking forward to this one, and we'll see you back for UFC 308. Little update on the channel. This week stacked, man. This will come out on Wednesday, hopefully, and then Thursday we'll have football, NFL. The boys are back. Cam and Mikey will be joining me for that. Week 5 of NFL, week 6 of NCAA. We'll have my Flash 5, Focus 5. You know the deal, 5 takeaways. After that, what did I have to post on Friday? Survivor episode 3 will hopefully be out. Hoping to do that Wednesday night, but it could be early Thursday morning as well with football, or that could be like a noon release on Thursday. Besides that, Awakenings movie review, Nightcrawler movie review. So that's the future on the channel for now. Next week we'll be back with more NFL, more Survivor, and more movie reviews and show reviews and sports. Did MLB postseason predictions. I will say my bracket's already busted, but we don't need to talk about it. Just it's the amount of games, not the team that advanced, so we're still in it. So if you want to see that, go check it out. Little short little one there. And stay tuned for everything else on the channel. As always, be easy, man.